morning, big strappers. Made it up into Winnipeg in spite of the weather here. Spent the night at the Petrocan card lock and service plaza there, just where the Trans-Canada meets the Perimeter Road in Winnipeg. That was interesting. It was a reminder that the trucking conditions up here, as far as the way they treat their truck driver, are not as good as in the States. The showers were dirty. The card lock, half the pumps didn't work, and when you press the button to talk to the people inside, they just didn't really care. It was just up to you. It was your problem. It's just a reminder of how much better trucking can be in the States, and that's not counting the terrible weather we've been through here in the last couple of days. It's talking more about how the Canadian public treats their truck drivers, and it's substandard compared to how they're treated in the States. So I think for the next little while, for all sorts of reasons, after I get this load off, I'm headed south. I'm headed into Fargo, North Dakota. I'm gonna have a shower, and a clean shower at the Petro, and wash the truck and have a decent meal, a hot meal, and get back to living the way a fellow that does this for a living should, rather than living like a dog. So I'm looking forward to that. I stopped at a little mom and pop truck stop just south of Uppsala, which is north of Thunder Bay or west of Thunder Bay, maybe an hour. And it's a place I don't get out that way very often, but when I do, I stop there because it's a quiet place to sleep, and they've got like a little restaurant there, and it's nice. And I stopped there and for dinner last night, or the other night, 2 nights ago now, and was talking to the old fella that has the place, manages the place, and I came in and sat down for dinner, and he gave me a woeful look and said, "Oh, the restaurant's closed. We don't do that kind of thing anymore." He said there just isn't enough business anymore. I said, "Well, do you have any pie even?" Because the pie was always really good there. He said, "No, my wife doesn't even make the pies anymore." He said, I did make some beef barley soup." I said, I'll have a bowl of that and a coffee. So we sat and chatted. I was the only guy in there, and had my soup and coffee, and we chatted, and he said that he doesn't know how much longer he'll be able to stay in business. He lives out behind the little truck stop there, I think, by the sounds of it, but he said there's just, it's just dead quiet, not really enough business even to stay open. And I thought, boy, that's a shame. I've been stopping there, maybe once or twice a year, but for years when I'm up this way. And I'm sorry to see those little mom and pop stops go, because all it leaves are card locks with sandwich machines up here, and that doesn't cut it. So I'm sorry to see that. On the bright side, I ran into a fellow named Al Simpson that knew someone that I had worked with back in the early 80s at Canyon Distributors. And Al was still in touch with this guy. The guy's name was Jerry Shows. Gave him a call, and then Al and I sat around, and he showed me some old truck pictures from his trucking career. He'd worked for Canadian Freightways out of Prince Rupert, BC, and he had some excellent old photos. And he was fun to talk to. It was nice to run into a guy that had been around even longer than I had. So we chatted and ran together as far as Winnipeg. He caught me somewhere before Dryden, I guess, and we stopped in Dryden and had coffee and pie there, and then carried on. And we had a good chat all the way up to Winnipeg. So I really enjoyed that, and that's the type of thing that used to happen all the time out here. You'd get talking to someone you knew, or you'd run into someone and chat with them for a few hundred miles, and that doesn't seem to happen anymore either. So that was an enjoyable experience anyway, so I enjoyed that. So we're almost empty here, and we're going to be headed towards Fargo to the Petro, and I'll be happy to get down there. They say you're never too old to learn something, and this trip here taught me something. I left home in mid-November, not expecting to really run into any serious weather. And generally what happens with me is I equip my truck, or I re-equip it at Christmas time when I'm home, and I make sure I've got everything that I need for winter driving. Everything from heavy clothing to methyl hydrate to ether to tire chains to heavy mitts and a toque, all that kind of stuff, just in case. And it was just by chance that I threw most of this stuff, not all of it, but most of it in the truck when I was home there before I left in mid-November. Never expecting to need it. I just happened to be out at my old storage trailer and saw the stuff, and I thought, well, you know, I might as well, I got a few minutes here or now, I might as well put it in now, and then that's one job done. Well, it was just luck that I had all this stuff, because the weather turned ugly coming out here in November, and I hadn't expected it. So the lesson here is the lesson here is be prepared, and don't think you've got it in the bag. Be ready for anything, because it certainly caught me by surprise, and it was only a happy coincidence that I had most of my winter stuff with me, but it could have been bad. I had my heavy down coat, and it was minus 14 here 2 nights ago where I was. And I thought that was a bit of overkill taking that coat with me, and I don't like to carry it much because it takes up a lot of room in the closet because it's puffy, but thank God I had it, or I'd about froze to death if I'd have broke down. So, and it's not a pleasant experience to break down in temperatures like that, so you want to try to prevent that and make sure you've got fuel conditioner and methyl hydrate and everything you need to keep the truck going. And I had no problems, but I was sure glad I had all that stuff just in case I did need it. And I talked to, well, Al Simpson that I ran into there. He'd come up the other highway, and he'd had to chain up. And I'd thrown my chains in, never expecting to need them. I don't think I've chained up in the last, God, 7 or 8 years at least. Never thought I'd need them, but I carry them anyway. And he was of the same mind, and he spun out twice. So just goes to show you, you can never be too prepared, I guess. So lesson learned.